make the male more feminine, he's less, then women are going to be less attracted to him.
If I'm in bed with a man and he starts touching me down there, I'm thinking, does this feel right? Because I want him to be the straight man, but I can't. That's my dichotomy, isn't it?
We are the army now, aren't we?
Well, P and V sex, kind of, penis in vagina sex, and the way they describe that, it just kind of turns me a wee bit.
It shows me how much it's affecting, real transgender people. I'm a bisexual guy.
At the end of the day, trans have been in existence for decades. I myself know 2 people. The vast majority of trans people, whether they be male to female, female to male, are not doing anyone any harm in living their lives.
I know you know all this stuff, Taylor, but the fact that it's like over 80% of them once they go through puberty, they are like lesbians, gay or bisexual at the end.
Everyone's got skin in the game. I don't care what anyone says. Someone's got skin in the game. If you're a single guy, your skin in the game is that you're going to have these young women claiming to be men that are going to be trying to have sex with you.
So if trans people are queer, and we agree trans people are queer, can trans people be straight? Because trans people are queer, so that means that queer people can be straight.
One of my favorite singers, I think Rufus Wainwright, he had a child with his best friend the natural way. So, and he's a gay man.
So I first of all have to say that I completely disagree with any criticism of, LGB.
I think we've got to be careful. This is not about shaming, but to say that something is natural is a really, really bold statement that you can't back up.
These are not my people. I'm over there with the prostituted women and the transsexuals.
Homophobia is on the rise.
I mean, I understand the practice of witchcraft, but it's kind of like Christianity, to be honest. I mean, I see them as just 2 things.
A lot of these women were bis and so forth, or they associate with having gay children and everything else. But these are just people doing bad things.
What would a non-separatist sort of Rad Femme Heaven look like?
Every time the separatism discourse happens on Twitter, there's all these women who are like, separatism is great, except my husband is perfect. Tims are a problem because they declare themselves to be nice guys, but we know that they're lying about nice guys. But nice guys do exist, it's just not those ones. That's what gender criticals are saying.
So the true transsexuals or the true transgenders or the people who aren't doing this for a fetish, wouldn't they materially benefit if the general public knew that people were not they were not the medical establishment was not transitioning individuals with fetishes? So many of these gay trans-identified males feel super comfortable tricking men into having sex.
When they used to have marches for gay rights, the men and women wore suits, and the women wore nice dresses and 2-piece outfits. They were dressed like ordinary men and women.
Sexuality, you can't know it at 5. I mean, I knew it when I was 5 or 6, that if you don't allow your children to find proper sort of education about, in this case, the LGBT identity, they'll try to find it somewhere else.
Who are you going to run to? Are you going to run to the radical feminists? I understand that a lot of us can be frustrated with the trans movement, but just remember, there's a young girl behind that screen seeing what you guys are saying about these other people who have transitioned and wondering why. Why? Why don't you accept me? Why don't you accept me? Mainly the people we need to blame are the men, the males who are pushing this, because it's not females who are becoming male pushing it.
When we're talking about trans-identified
girls, we're talking about male identified girls. And
I have loads of genuine trans friends who I've been there with them through their issues.
You know, some trans identified males will pass.
I'd like to make sure that we know there's definitely a difference between people who are genuine trans and people who are doing things which I think a lot of us have problems with. And in fairness, you know, we probably have trans friends as well, where we will expect, you know, to treat them as ladies, and we'll do what we do, and we know full well that, you know, eventually they're not. But in their heads, if they feel a certain way, then surely you should have the respect for them for that.
But I'm still more of a boy than his son.
Yeah, gay men are starting to see their safe spaces disappear as well. And in men, we're talking about gay bars, gay nightclubs, especially gay saunas. They're now, for the first time, having trans women, i.e. Male identifying biological females, turn up in gay saunas.
The one thing that I have, and you know, and I'm certainly not prepared to make a judgment on it, is that I do believe that a vanishingly small number of people actually do pass. And the thing is, of course, is that if they're passing, you know, there isn't an issue if they are passing.
The trans people from 10, 15, 20 years ago is very different to the trans movement that we see now. And I completely accept that, you know, there probably were genuine cases.
This was supposed to be a way to present the LGBT community in a positive light.
You feel the need to use the acronym LGBT.
And if you really care about transgender people and you're listening, you should be advocating for this.
Some of the biggest hackers in the UK, some of the most famous hackers in the UK, from Laurie Love, look up his court case. He now identifies as a girl. He's not. Barrett Brown, who was the spokesperson for Anonymous, who is here trying to claim asylum at the moment. His missus is now trans.
They've all put on a queer manifesto.
Yeah.
What are you doing bringing out a queer manifesto? And it makes me sound homophobic saying that. Like, who's making this up? Pedophiles?
So, one of the conversations I've been in around around those issues about how to protect trans women in prison is in the States. There's I can find the link later. In the States, there's a prison that's specifically for LGBTQ men.
Trans women have suicided and died and been raped in male prisons, for example. Yes, I understand the argument that that's not the women's problem, but it is a social issue that we should, in my opinion, understand why.
I just want to say that the gender critical, the rhetoric and actions don't add up.
I had something fun happen the other day. My mum came out to me. She said before she got married that there was a woman when she was younger. Coming out later in life, I mean, obviously she's married, so that it was just a sort of conversation. But coming out later in life is apparently one of the best things you can do. A lot of women think, oh, well, it's too late now, though. But it isn't. It's never too late. Just coming out and being part of the lesbian community and making lesbian friends or bisexual friends. It's a really great place. And where lesbian culture is kind of diminishing a bit, we're so welcoming to new women. And so, yeah, come out, do it. The water's lovely.
Most of them are autistic as well, as you will know.
Yep.
And most of them are LGB.
I think that a lot of people did feel uncomfortable about that stuff.
Even here in Britain, the fight is fraught because we've got religious parents, and and we know, because we're feminists and we are informed about these things, that what those parents are objecting to is a comprehensive sex education for girls.
What if we taught girls radical feminism from like age 8 or something?
The greatest of anti-learning, anti-books, anti-whatever clarion calls come from the right.
Can you believe that the unicorn is the animal of Scotland?
I was just sharing that, my daughter is very much a trans rights advocate.
And I'll admit this, I still enjoy watching Drag Race.
I can see the gay and lesbian community, and bisexual community, running away, going, "Oh my God, they're all terrible to us, and they all hate us."
The vast majority of people out there that self-label as trans are people with a fetish. They're not people with gender dysphoria. And the other thing that really annoys me about gays spouting this is we did not make a choice about our sexuality. And for most people who are gay or lesbian or bisexual, they can relate stories of when they were very, very young, prepubescent, and this is the key thing, prepubescent, and this is the key thing, prepubescent. They can tell you that before puberty, they realised that they viewed men's and women's bodies differently.
My daughter knows people who now identify as furries.
I wish I was a lesbian, I tell you.
And even the likes of Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner was, Bruce Jenner was one of the most elite athletes of our time, regardless of the fact that he's calling himself a woman.
The lowering sperm count and increasing feminization of the average male, it's a big problem.
The gay trans, they want to stay in the male prison because they want their sex partners, right?
Everybody knew that you would desist out of it, right? So it was a lot of gay children were during Tavistock were converted to being straight by heteronormative transing, right? So can we as cis people talk about the conversion therapy of us, of how so many people are being conversion therapied into queer when they should be straight, and it's conversion therapy to call a straight person queer? Why isn't the LGBTQ plus
mad about it?
No, why aren't they responsible for kind of conversion therapy of spicy straights? Because these people who are heterosexual, but you're trying to convince them that they're queer gender, even that they're heterosexual, isn't that conversion therapy pulling them away from their natural inborn orientation? But the fact that people are trying to convert straight people, that is literally conversion therapy.
What I'm concerned is when that level of rage is coming from a dad, it can be directed at the gay community.
It is, at the end of the day, the gay community. What was it somebody said the other day? There's not a single lesbian that doesn't know at least one or two others who are identifying as men now.
We really, really need to pay really big attention now to LGB children and autistic children.
So many people within the LGB have been the vanguard for silencing and shutting down the people who have raised this. The backlash will affect gay men.
I'm genuinely terrified for children and schools, the future of LGB children in schools.
We are the army now, aren't we?